Hello, yes, and welcome to another edition of the Irish Abroad Show as we move into our fourth month. I think I'm correct in saying fifth month, even Paul. I think started back in July anyway. We'll tie up the months anyway as the show goes on, and we'll have that correct by the time we finish recording. But how's all with yourself overall? It was a pretty good week with myself. Pats secured European football. Liverpool have now eased away to top spot in the so-called group of death in the Champions League. But as we will touch on later on the show, it wasn't all rose in the garden for the Red Half in Merseyside this week.
Yeah, definitely. I agree. I'm all good. Yeah, I mean, great to see Damien Duff coming in at Chelsea. He's got a big job ahead of him, though. That's what we've got to say. I think some people are being a bit too optimistic about the whole thing from the start. But look, he's got a big job ahead of him. But it's exciting times anyway. And look, the same as Liverpool with Arsenal. Arsenal are flying at the minute after an awful start to the season. I actually can't quite believe it, to be honest. I know they've had a couple of easier games since then. They haven't really played anyone. Have yous coming up in a couple of weeks' time after the international break, so that should be a bit of crack. And obviously the international break next week with a big game for Ireland against Portugal as well. And some of the lads have been in good form coming into that, so we can start talking about that. Do you want to crack on with the Premier League or will I? I don't mind.
I can let you get through the Premier League there if you want.
Yeah, grand. No, but as usual, it's busier this week anyway, but as usual, there's only a couple of things. We have to start off with Andrew Omobamidele. He scored his first Premier League goal in his home debut for Norwich. Unfortunately, they were beaten 2-1 by Leeds. Adam Ida also played 15 minutes. It was a fantastic header, Jared. I don't know if you've seen it yourself. You probably did over the last few days. Really, really good header. He had a tough time against Rafinha, but I mean, most players in that league would have a tough time against Rafinha, to be honest, especially if you're playing out of position.
Yeah, first things first, it was a fantastic header, met it really, really well from the corner. No, I didn't actually get to see the game live. I was out on Sunday, so I just see the highlights on Match of the Day 2 Sunday evening. And yeah, like I heard from all accounts that Jimmy Redknapp fairly lay into him at half time, being quite critical and everything else like that. But as you say, Rafinha has probably been, Leeds' standout player this year. He's been a nightmare for most fullbacks. And as Jimmy Floyd Hasbank said, he's a young lad playing out of position. And it was good to see that the lads on Match today, I think it was Dion Dublin and Chris Wilder, were a little bit more sympathetic, that they understood and realised, look, it was always going to be a difficult day for him. And I think, look, it's a good learning curve for him. Come up against a player of Rafinha's quality who's been linked with moves with Liverpool for nearly go to 12 months now at this stage. It's only going to stand him benefit. He's going to learn from that. Like, he's going to have to get used to it, because if he's going to want to be playing week in, week out in this Norwich team, more often than not, he's going to have to be doing a lot of defending and up against high quality players, because Norwich aren't going to have a lot of the ball, and it's going to be the same as well if he's going to be lining out in the Aviva in this time next week. So look, overall, it was a bittersweet feeling from him. Nice to get a goal, but another defeat for Norwich. At least this time, Daniel Farke brought on Adam Ida a little bit earlier in the game, as you said, the last 15 minutes. So there was actually a chance for him to work his way into the game and maybe grab an equaliser, unlike the last previous times when he's brought him on at the start of injury time. But in general, it's looking very, very bleak for Norwich. I don't see any way out for them, to be brutally honest. I was saying to a couple of lads today, I think they will beat Derby's record. But I think it was a couple of seasons ago, Aston Villa, they got relegated. I think 3 or 4 wins is all they recorded that season. I think Sheffield United last year was 5 or 6 maybe. I think Norwich will probably be in around 3 to 4 maximum wins this season. I think they're much worse than they were 2 years ago. Like 2 years ago, they actually were pretty decent. They could pull off a couple of good results, and
Mm.
got to an FA Cup quarter final and were competitive games. This year, like, I think they could be gone by April or Easter or Paddy's Day, so in the springtime.
Yeah, yeah. I agree. I think that game on Sunday was actually a game they probably should have been looking to win as well. I
Yeah,
thought they might win it, to be fair. They played all right in the first half, but there's nothing really going for them. I think they have lost a couple of players since the last year they were in the Premier League. And even in that last year, they were awful for the last third of the season, if you think
yeah.
about it. I know with COVID and stuff as well, but I remember when they came back, they were smashed by everyone, like Brighton, West Ham, Southampton, all smashed them. So I mean,
Yeah, I don't think.
yeah, I wouldn't have much hope. And then you look at, I know we're not on the championship, but you look at Fulham, the flying form they're in now already as well. They're going to come back up and they'll do the same thing as Norwich. They'll bounce straight back down again. So they're just these two clubs who they don't really have the financial budget buy enough players to keep themselves solid in the Premier League. And that's unfortunate because they do try and play nice stuff a lot of the time. But look,
Yeah.
that's just the way, unfortunately.
Yeah, I don't think Norwich actually won a game in Project Restart. That what you mentioned last time. I think there's a kind of a grading system. I don't know how familiar you are with with Club GA, but you have this thing kind of called like Senior B. So you're not really kind of quite good enough for senior, but you're too good for intermediate. And
Mm-hmm.
I think Norwich and Fulham should be the first two founders of a Premier League B, where they're just too good for the Championship and not good enough for the Premier League. Because we're going to get on to Fulham obviously later on the show. They are just scoring goals for fun at the moment in that
Mm-hmm.
division. So I'm calling it at the moment. Two founding members of Premier League B are Norwich and Fulham, where there's no promotion or relegation. They just stay in that division.
Yeah, I think they should include West Brom in that as well.
Yes.
To be honest,
Possibly
yeah,
possibly Bournemouth, maybe Watford as well. I think they could be making it a 5-team division inside the next 2 or 3 years.
yeah, definitely, I agree. We should move on anyway. There's a bit more news. Another centre half for Ireland, Shane Duffy. He played in a 2-2 draw with Liverpool for Brighton. He got a yellow card in that as well. Obviously, a good comeback by Brighton, and they're proving themselves to be a decent side.
Yeah, I didn't actually see this game either live on Saturday. I had my own game on Saturday afternoon, so I'm just reliant on kind of different reports, match of the day highlights. But by all accounts and what I've heard from this game is Brighton actually should have won this game. Trossard actually had a goal disallowed for offside that would have made it 3-2. Now I'm going to put my biased Liverpool hat on and say we had 2 goals disallowed as well, correctly obviously ruled out from VAR handball and a offside against Mo Salah. But to go 2-0 down inside 20 minutes at Anfield, most teams would absolutely crumble. I didn't see much of a fight back from Atletico Madrid last night. I know they got a man sent off, but they deserve tremendous credit for that. I suppose I know everyone's saying it wasn't the same playing Anfield last year and without the fans, but Brighton did win there last year, so they do have a good record now at Anfield from their last kind of 2 visits. And 100 Premier League appearances now for Shane Duffy is fantastic. I don't know if you've seen the picture he kind of created for
Mm-hmm.
himself up on I think it was his Twitter account, saying this is what I thought I'd look like when I reach 100 Premier League appearances. I know we can't get it quite up on screen, but for anyone, go check it out. I'm calling it out. I think he looks a spitting image of an older Ollie Hogan there. I think, Derry, Donegal, bordering counties up there in the northwest of Ireland, there could be relations there that don't quite know it yet. But yeah, he got a good rating as well from who gave him the rating this time? I actually forgot to put down the publication, but I presume it was one of the local publications, Brighton. They gave him a 7 out of 10 rating, saying that good block tonight, Oxlade Chamberlain from inside the box. Didn't have too much to do as protected by his midfield. Couldn't do much but the 2 goals conceded. Solid next to dunk. And yeah, it was a good response from Brighton considering they had dipped off a little bit the last kind of couple of weeks. Not sure who their weekend fixture is, but they'll be looking out to go into international break, building that result from Saturday and keep themselves in around them European places.
Yeah, definitely fantastic result. Obviously, they were hopped off by City the week before as well. Shane Duffy didn't play in that game, which I thought was a bit mad considering he's been so good so far. And I wasn't surprised they're beaten 4-1 by City. But look, he comes in, they get a result at Anfield. Look, that's all you need to say, really, isn't it?
Yeah,
And probably
I
should have
think
won too.
Gary was saying last week on the show. I think it was tactical reasons why he was actually dropped that game as opposed to. I just
No, I know,
I'm
but I
not
hate
going
when
against the
managers
word
do
of
that. Like,
Gary Spain. That's all I'm saying.
I know, but I hate when managers do that because ultimately
Yeah.
at the end they generally get beaten because they're taking away their strongest side, trying to be smart. Pep has done it himself as well, and they end up getting beaten. So look, that's just the way it is. It frustrates me, but look, that's the way I suppose with knocks and injuries as well. You don't really hear about them all the time as well. We can move on anyway. Kieran Clark, he played the full 90 in Newcastle's. Another Newcastle defeat, 3-0 by Chelsea this week. I think Newcastle need to focus on staying up rather than thinking who they're going to get in as their big time manager and big time players as well.
Yeah, I think Newcastle needs to think very short term before even thinking about any sort of medium term to long term goals because they are in the thick of a relegation battle themselves. And Norwich are now the only two teams now who win. Burnley finally got their first win, beating Brentford the other day. Burnley without Nathan Collins, unfortunately, but I'm sure we'll see more of him for the season. So, yeah, it's as you say, another defeat there. It's 10 games now without a win this season. And again, the fact that I was away on Saturday or having a match, I'm just checking on updates and scores, and I see Chelsea didn't score since 65th minute. Newcastle must have actually played all right in this game, and even from watching the highlights of the match today, it just shows how it doesn't do it justice. I think it showed in the first half 2 chances or 2 opportunities each for both sides. So you're kind of thinking, oh, Newcastle must have actually been pretty even, but no, by all accounts, they were meant to be awful. And it's probably no surprise when Chelsea did eventually score through a brilliantly taken Reece James goal that the floodgates opened and it ends up being a comprehensive victory. Once again, the ever reliable for a great in-depth player analysis, the Chronicle Live gave him a 5 out of 10 rating. And as you can imagine, Paul, as they usually do, just get straight to it. Don't really give much away. Just say not assertive enough when it mattered. But I'd say in general that's probably the way it was for a lot of that Newcastle team. I don't think Kieran is an scapegoat there. I think the reality is that it's a poor squad. They're very, very low in confidence. While they might be the richest club in the world now, there's a good possibility that they'll be playing the second tier of English football next year if they don't act quickly. Now, it does look like they're going to get Eddie Howe in. I think that's an appointment that would really excite the fans because of the style of football he will try and play. He'll already know a couple of players there, the likes of Matt Ritchie, who've done really well from Bournemouth in the past, and obviously Ryan Fraser and Callum Wilson. So that will help him maybe a small little bit. But the reality is, if you offer Newcastle 17 players right now, they'll take it, and that would probably be a successful season because I don't see them getting too many in January. I can see them maybe a slight improvement, but I still think at best you're looking at a 14, 15 place finish for Newcastle, and then maybe in the summer of 2022 things might start to take off in this big project of theirs.
Yeah, definitely. Like you think of like when Man City first got all the money in, it wasn't fantastic from the get go. Mark Hughes was in. Now
They
they
were
weren't
bottom
in
of
relic.
Christmas that season.
Yeah, they weren't as bad as
No, but they
Newcastle
were in a
per
similar
se.
league situation.
Yeah, they were in the bottom half of the table anyway, and everyone thought, oh, they're going to be challenging for Europe. They're going to be this. They're going to be that. They brought in Robinho and all the like. Well, Robinho never really worked out in the end, did it? But yeah, it's a tough one to talk about. Newcastle. I don't know. The main thing is, as you said, just stay up because if you're going into the championship with all that money, there's only a certain caliber of players that you can really buy. You're not going to attract many to go play against Reading on a Tuesday night in November, like the likes of even the likes of Ruben Neves who did go to Wolves like that. They're not going to attract those kind of players, and that's just the way. One more player that played on the weekend was Seamus Coleman. He got the full 90 minutes in Wolves 2-1 win over Everton. He got a yellow card in that as well. I don't know if you've seen any of that, Jer, but Everton were awful in the first half, and in the second half, they actually rallied, and Coleman nearly got a goal or an assist towards the end of the game. Anyway, he played very well from what I saw in the second half, but in the first half, they were awful.
Yeah, I was watching this game as well Monday night. They were pretty shambolic in the first half, Everton. They were lucky not to be completely out of sight at half time. Second half, I agree. They rallied the Cape back into the game, but I think it would have been completely injustice on Wolves if Everton had taken something from that match. Wolves still probably should have won that game 3 or 4-1. It just shows you how quickly football can change and maybe the small little margins in football because at the first international break at the end of August, Spurs were top of the table 9 points after 3-1-0 victories. Wolves were bottom of the table after 3-1-0 defeats, but they weren't playing that particularly bad, and Spurs weren't really playing that particularly well. And now, I think it's 7 games later, Wolves have now actually just leapfrogged Spurs in the table. They've gone on a really, really good run since the September international break. They've won, I think, 5. I think it's the last 7, only 1 defeat in that as well. Obviously, that great comeback win against Aston Villa shows a tremendous spirit there. And they look like they could be on course to have another pretty good season there, Wolves. No surprise given that Everton were completely overrun for vast majority of this game. Seamus Coleman didn't come away with a healthy rating from this game from the Liverpool Echo. He just got a 3 out of 10 rating. Gave the ball away far too many times over the course of 90 minutes, but it was especially apparent in the first half, although he was far from the only Everton player guilty of that. So yeah, the wheels have come off a little bit for Rafa Benitez over the last kind of couple of weeks, but I think that's a typical Everton thing. You've seen it before in the past, the likes of maybe not so much so as this early with Roberto Martinez, but the likes of Marco Silva, Ronald Koeman, even Carlo Ancelotti, they seem to get a bounce early in the season. Everton are suddenly talked about Champions League contenders, and then as soon as the clocks change or we hit the autumn time, their form seems to dip, and I think they'll probably be in and around the UEFA Conference League spots this season.
Yeah, I think Everton and Spurs are very similar teams the last couple of years. They're just kind of, well, I know Spurs did get the Champions League final, but you look at the two of them, you don't see much difference. They're in the shadow of their two rivals all the time. look, it's just it's fact. It's fact. Look at the stats. Look at the trophies won over the years. Even the likes of the FA Cup still counts as a major trophy. Um, I don't know. I don't know how they, like, you look at Wolves, just how much better they are than them as well. They've got better players, better midfield anyway. That's for sure. I'd completely go with that. So yeah, I won't go into too much detail considering our head man follows Everton, so I won't go into too much detail because I have had arguments with him over the years about Everton and Arsenal. So that's it from the Premier League. Did you have anything else to add? Or
No, I just think the only thing to take away there is that could you absolutely love a dig at Tottenham on this show.
they dig themselves into the ground. I don't have to do it. They put themselves in the ground. They go on
Uh,
mountain, and then we're ahead of them.
to
That's
be
it.
honest, coming from a Liverpool fan, you're in the same category as Everton at the moment for me. They're your teams I don't really care about anymore because
Yeah.
we're a nice bit ahead of you now. I hope I don't have humble pie on myself in 3 weeks on Saturday, fortnight on Saturday when you come to Anfield, and yeah, I probably just walk myself into danger and remove it from the WhatsApp group with a comment like that with Paul there. We'll move on. Championship, as always, surprise, surprise, double game week, so much to get through. So I can run through the weekend and then you can give us the action from what's happened over the last 48 hours.
Yep. Perfect.
And so, start with the weekend. So, the Friday night game, Jimmy Dunn was introduced in the 36 minutes for QPR as they conceded an injury time equaliser to draw 1-1 with Nottingham Forest. He got a 6 out of 10 rating from West London Sport, saying he was at fault, but more so just unfortunate with Jack Callback's equaliser for Nottingham Forest in that game, as it did deflect beyond them. The Saturday lunchtime game saw West Brom go down heavily 3-0 to free scoring Fulham at the moment. Callum Robinson and Jason Maloney were both introduced as substitutes in this game for West Brom, and they both received 5 out of 10 ratings from the Express and Star. Ryan Manning got an assist and a yellow card in Swansea City's 3-0 win against Peterborough. They've been on a decent little run over the last few weeks, have Swansea. That's his third assist of the season. He got an 8 out of 10 rating from Wales Online, saying, made a fair share of tackles and was a threat further up the pitch too. The Irishman has well and truly established himself as a key cog under Russell Martin. So good to see that it's looking like a good season so far for Ryan Manning. Michael Obafemi came on the last 28 minutes of this game for Swansea. He got a 6 out of 10 rating for his contribution from Wales on Live. Sammy Smedix and Jack Taylor both played the entire game for Peterborough, but that's all I have down. I forgot to put down who they were playing at the weekend. I'm going to guess by their ratings they lost because Taylor got a 5 out of 10 rating.
Peterborough, was it?
Yeah.
Yeah, Swansea.
Oh, sorry. Yes, they played. Oh, yes, they played in this game. Sorry for Peterborough. Sorry, that was a bit of a mind melt there for myself. So yeah, so 5 out of 10 rating for Taylor from Peterborough today, and slightly higher 5.5 from Smedix. Mark McGuinness was the sole representation in the Cardiff City side as they came from 3-0 down to draw 3-3 away to Stoke as they began the life post Mick McCarthy. He got a 6 out of 10 rating from Wales Online. As above, although might feel he could have done more to prevent the opening goal, initially looked a little unsure of his role, so by the sound of things, it was a bit of a mixed afternoon for him. Richard Keogh helped Blackpool to a hat-trick of victories as they bet Sheffield United 1-0 at Bramall Lane on Saturday. It's now back-to-back clean sheets as well for Blackpool. Well, it was. We'll get on to the fact that it wasn't a hat-trick of clean sheets later on in the show. John Egan and Enid Stevens both started this game for Sheffield United, and Dave McGoldrick was introduced from the bench for the last 28 minutes, but they couldn't help their side get back into it. Both Egan and Stevens got 5 out of 10 ratings from the start. Just interesting to read here in John Egan's player ratings, which is something we might discuss a little bit, because they didn't kind of quite hold back on the Cork native, saying for so long Egan looked to moral consistency and composure in the middle of United's back three, but United seem to concede soft goals week in, week out at the minute, and as a captain and senior defender he would bear the share of the blame for that. While Stevens also got 5 out of 10 rating, saying produced a couple of really dangerous crosses from the left wing with Gibson White and McGoldrick both seeing subsequent efforts saved or blocked. Couldn't do enough to prevent Anderson scoring the winner after a long ball caught Sheffield United defence out, and McGoldrick got a 5.5 rating when he was introduced in that game. Alan Brown returned from suspension to captain Preston to a 2-0 win over Luton. He did pick up a yellow card in this game, so he still is getting himself in the referee's notebook. Sean Maguire played 75 minutes of this contest for the home side, and both players come away with healthy ratings. Brown got an 8 out of 10 rating from Anks Live, saying it was a top shift from the skipper and he left everything out on the pitch. And Maguire got a 7 out of 10 rating, saying that they look a better side, Preston North End, with Sean Maguire in their starting 11. And on the opposition side, Glenn Ree was substituted at half time for Luton Town. Scott Hogan scored the second of Birmingham City's 2 goals in their 2-0 win away to Middlesbrough. That's his 4th goal of the season and his first in 7 games. And he got a 7 out of 10 rating from the Birmingham Mail. Sean McLaughlin came on as a half-time substitute for just his 3rd appearance of the season for Hull City as they lost 1-0 at home to Coventry. And Darragh Lenihan got his 3rd yellow card of the season. But overall, it was a happy afternoon for him on Saturday as they bet Derby 2-1 at, I was going to say Pride Park, but I think it's the iPro Stadium or something.
It's Pride Park, sure. It's Pride
Park. They bet Derby away on Saturday. Got an 8 out of 10 rating from Lanks Live, saying he won an incredible 15 headers on top of 7 clearances, 4 tackles and 3 interceptions, and Rovers needed their captain to stand tall during Derby's second half press. Did concede a couple of free kicks in dangerous areas, but helped marshal a makeshift backline through some heavy Derby pressure. So good to see. Good ratings there from Darragh Lenihan. It's all downhill for Darragh and Blackburn later on the show, as we'll get to. As if any of you were watching the Championship last night, you know exactly what we're talking about. And as for Derby, Feste Ebosele, he played the last quarter of this game for Derby. And finally, the Bournemouth contingent. Mark Travers kept his 4th consecutive clean sheet as Bournemouth remains their unbeaten record on Saturday after their 2-0 victory against Reading. That unbeaten record, of course, is now gone. He got an 8 out of 10 rating from Dorset's Live, saying that save in the final stages was arguably Travers' finest moment in a cherry shirt. A save which save which he joined to claw out a goal-bound header. Even promotion winning sides need a solid goalkeeper, and in Travers, Bournemouth certainly have that. Of course, that game was actually live on TV on Saturday, so if anyone's seen the save, maybe let us know in the comments how good it was. Disappointing afternoon or evening, I should say, for Gavin Kilkenny. He got substituted at half time in this one. Didn't feature last night, so I just wonder, is it still the case of just kind of managing him a small little bit from a Scott Parker point of view? And no surprise that he got a 6 out of 10 rating from Dorset Live, saying it's been a tougher night for him than in recent weeks. So yeah, a lot to get through there from the weekend and Championship. I suppose, Paul, maybe if you do the midweek roundup and then we might give our collective thoughts on the Championship.
Yeah, we'll do. Anyway, I'll start off with Tuesday. So start off against Scott Hogan, got another goal in Birmingham City's 3-0 win over Bristol City. It's his 5th goal now of the season. And Callum O'Dowd did not feature for Bristol City. He was on the bench again. Ryan Manning was part of another Swansea victory. They won 2-1 at high flying Coventry City. He didn't.
Was that not a draw?
No, it was 2-1. 2-1 Swansea.
I'm fairly certain of the draw. I was even just watching the EFL show on Quest.
I have 2-1 Swansea on live score.
Right, just the way you have 1-1, just go to double check.
Maybe live score is lying to me.
I don't trust live score. It's flash score for me.
I had another one, but it kept breaking on my phone, so I just went to live score. When you were looking for that anyway, I'll keep going. Where are we? Enda Stevens and John Egan both played in Sheffield United's 1-1 draw with Nottingham Forest on Tuesday as well.
Yeah, sorry. Apologies, you're correct. It was a 2-1 win for Swansea. That's actually a very impressive victory because I think that's Coventry's first home defeat of the season. So yeah, Swansea continuing their good run of late.
Yeah,
apologies
definitely.
there, Paul.
No, you're right. They're flying at the minute. Back to Sheffield United, John Egan and Enda Stevens and Conor Horan only came on in the 90th minute. They 3 of them played in their 1-1 draw with Nottingham Forest as well. Another disappointing result for Sheffield United. And Peterborough drew 1-1 with Huddersfield Town at home. And Sammy Schmodix and Jack Taylor both played in that. Jack Taylor picking up a yellow card also. We move on to Wednesday. I'll start off with Callum Robinson. He got an assist in West Bromwich Albion's 1-0 win over Hull. Again, he's actually had a very fine season, both on international and club level as well. Jimmy Dunn helped QPR keep a clean sheet and a 1-0 win away to Cardiff City. Mark McGuinness also played in that. And sorry, I just missed some of them earlier when I was doing this, so I'm just going to go through them like this. Blackpool didn't keep another clean sheet. Richard Keogh was involved, but they did lose 1-0 at home to Stoke City. Stephen Fletcher getting the winner there, the Scottish striker, who I haven't heard of in years. Darragh Lenihan, will go on to him, or maybe he doesn't want us to go on to him. Fulham beat Blackburn 7-0 at Ewood Park last night. And, I mean, standard Fulham, like we were talking about at the start. I think Mitrovic already has 19 goals this season.
Yeah, they were saying that last night. It's ridiculous.
Oh God, it's just I shouldn't say this on live. It's just a piss take, isn't it? Like, it just is. Like,
the 43 goals in total so far, I think, after something like 15 matches.
I know, and that's unheard of in the Championship. To be fair, usually it's a very competitive league, but this year it seems like there's a couple of sides.
And they're not even top.
Exactly. Yeah. Bournemouth, they're top, and we move on to Bournemouth now. Anyway, they were beaten 2-1 at home by Preston North End. Mark Travers not keeping a clean sheet there, obviously. And Alan Brown was involved. Sean Maguire was also involved. He went off as a sub. Greg Cunningham also came on for 15 minutes in that as well. That's a big win for Preston, who've been improving the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, they've picked it up. That's a couple of wins now in the last few weeks. So, as you touched on, the first team to go to Bournemouth, and the first team in general to beat Bournemouth this season, was very, very impressive. I watched the EFL show on Quest last night. And yeah, they took their goals very, very well. They've also got their goalkeeper, Daniel Everson. If anyone sees it, he makes an unbelievable save. I think it's from Jamal Lowe at the end. Great reflexes. David De Gea, and yeah, disappointing for Mark Travers. I did kind of possibly think he could have maybe had a better positioning for the second goal. McCann's winner for Preston. Now, I do think he was unsighted. I think it was Philip Binning was kind of standing in his way, so that didn't help. But he did make a very, very good save to prevent it from going 3-1 down. But look, it's the first time he conceded in 5 goals. It ends a run of 450 minutes without a goal conceded. So you can't really have too much to kind of complain about. And he still got a 7 out of 10 rating from Dorsets Live, and they're actually saying that he couldn't do anything about either goal. He definitely couldn't do anything about the first goal from Whiteman. It was a fantastic finish. And just interesting as well to note there, a second consecutive appearance off the bench for Sean McLaughlin. He came on for Hull in that game. They lost 1-0 to West Brom, as you mentioned. Callum Robinson with the assist there, nicely teeing up Caroline Grant for the winner. It was, goal that came about from good pressing from Jake Livermore. Robinson could have easily taken the shot on, but done the right thing, laid it off to a player in a better position for an almost certain goal. So good to see a little bit more goal involvement there from Callum Robinson. And on Richard Keogh as well, he was actually forced off after 15 minutes for Blackpool in their 1-0 defeat at home against Stoke City. He picked up a knock after 15 minutes. That's what the Blackpool Gazette was saying. And you're saying you haven't heard of Stephen Taylor in so long. It's now 3 goals in 2 games for the Scottish nation.
Fletcher.
To be honest, when I seen him pop up with the winner last night, I was like, this guy is actually still playing football. I could not believe it. It's definitely 12, 13 years ago since he was in the Premier League with Burnley, and he was around a good while before that. So he's
he was with Wolves as well, wasn't he? When Kevin Doyle was there, yeah.
So I think that's pretty much everything from the Championship. Just the one thing, as I touched on there, about the John Egan situation, I have noticed it quite a lot. Now, I'm not calling out John Egan to be dropped from the Ireland team. I still think he'll be in the starting 11 for next week's game. I think he's proven before in the green shirt he can be trusted. But now, Sheffield United, as a general, as I expected, are struggling this season. I didn't think that they were going to feature for promotion. But I have noticed a lot in the players' reviews. Now, I haven't watched Sheffield United this season, but he doesn't seem to be getting kind of strong reviews. He's one of them type of players, I thought in the summer, he's good enough to stay in the Premier League. But you just kind of wonder, like, if other Premier League clubs are looking at this, his season so far, Sheffield United, I can't see a move coming from in January. Would you be kind of slightly concerned or worried? Like I said, I still don't think it'll overly affect him from an Ireland point of view, but I would like him to see him maybe coming in to the game next week in better form.
Yeah, definitely. But I think he'll be all right. He's playing alongside better players for Ireland as well. You look at the likes of right beside him anyway, Shane Duffy, who's in flying form this season. Even Andrew Omobamidele is just, I just think he's a better player than the likes of Chris Basham and Jayden Bogle. Obviously, I'm not going to put in Enda Stevens there. Enda Stevens is another quality player, and preferably I'd like him starting at left back as well. But look, it's going to be hard. They had a hard season last year, and you're never just going to bounce straight back once you have a season like that. So look, especially from their start, they didn't win till January as well. So like, probably not even used to winning when they do win, to be fair. So like, yeah, I think he'd be all right when he comes in. He's got experienced heads around him, better heads around him. So I wouldn't worry. I wouldn't worry. And plus, if it does go wrong, it's probably going to be Ronaldo causing the havoc. So the way he's playing at the minute as well, we can't really criticize unless it's a proper bad mistake. If Ronaldo scores an unbelievable header or an unbelievable volley, that's just Cristiano Ronaldo. So look, it's a hard one to talk about. I think John will be all right.
Yeah, just as you mentioned there about seeing Stevens come back in, say at left back or left wing back, depending on Stephen Kenny's formation. I think like Ryan Manning has to be really kind of putting his hand up at the moment with his performances with Swansea. But we're going to touch on in League One. James McLean isn't doing a lot wrong either at the moment, and we'll actually touch on now to the third tier of English football. So I'll give the roundup from there. There was a good bit happening over the weekend, and there was a handful of games during the week. So starting with the weekend, and speaking of the man himself, James McLean, it's now 4 goals in 5 games for James McLean as Wigan got back to winning ways, winning 2-0 away to Burton Albion. He's now Wigan's second joint highest scorer on 5 goals this season. Well, he was just 1 behind Will Keane after Saturday, but he's now moved 2 behind Will Keane, as I'll get on to a little bit later on. Joshua Coyote, he got an assist in Rotherham's 5-0 thrashing of Sunderland. Where's it all gone wrong for the Mackems over the last kind of couple of weeks? Started so well, but they've shifted some heavy defeats. They were hammered 3-0 again during the week by Sheffield Wednesday. Coyote only came on the 75th minute of this game, and he set up their 5th goal with 2 minutes of normal time remaining. So good impact from his limited time on the pitch. Roland Curtis assisted Portsmouth's winner in their 1-0 victory at home to Bolton on Saturday. That's now the second game in a row that the Donegal man has had a goal involvement. Gavin Bazunu kept his first clean sheet in 4 games in this encounter, and both players received 7 out of 10 ratings from Hampshire Live. Mark Skykes scored the second of Rotherham's 3 goals in their 1-0 victory over Morecambe on Saturday. That's his 4th goal of the season. He got a 6.5 rating from the Oxford Mail, saying he was less influential this week, but still obviously got that important goal. And the final bit of information from the weekend, Darrell Hogan got an assist as Wycombe Wanderers blew a 3-1 lead to draw 3-3 away to Fleetwood. And then from midweek, once again, Fleetwood were involved in a high-scoring game, but this time they lost 3-2 to Wigan at home. And as I mentioned there, Will Keane ended his run of 5 games without a goal by scoring Wigan's 2nd goal in this contest, and that now moves him up to 7 for the season. Anything else that you'd like to bring from League One to the table, Paul?
Just on the weekend, Peter Chioso got an assist and Warren O'Hara played for MK Dons. They won 4-1. They're actually playing quite well this season, MK Dons. I don't think Troy Parrott was involved. And just another small one, I don't know if you said it or not, Darrell Horgan got an assist in Wycombe's 3-all draw. You did. Sorry, my bad.
No worries.
So that's I think that's League One, is it?
I think it was personal reasons was given behind Troy Parrott's absence from the NK Dong squad on Saturday.
Yeah, fair enough. We can move on to League Two anyway. Again, only brief ones, but big news anyway. Aaron Drinnan got a hat-trick and an assist in Leyton Orient's 5-0 win over Hartlepool. Gavin Hullen was playing for Hartlepool also. It's probably a really disappointing result for Hartlepool, who've actually played quite well this year from what I've seen from watching Gillette on Saturdays anyway. And Owen O'Connell got an assist in Rochdale's 2-1 win at Barrow. That's all I had from League Two.
Yeah, just also as well, Liam Kelly actually got the 2nd assist in that game for Rochdale. So both goals for Rochdale were set up by Irishmen as they recorded a good victory as well. And yeah, Aaron Drennan obviously started the season really, really well. I remember talking about him a good bit back in the month of August, our 2nd month of recording. It's our 5th month of recording. It's come to me now. But those were actually his first goals since August. He's up to 7 for the season. And speaking of Hartlepool, it probably just completed an overall very emotional day for Jeff Stedding on Saturday. I couldn't actually believe it. I actually missed the announcement. I literally turned on Soccer Saturday just before I went up to my own game. But that was just to catch the starts of the 3 o'clock. But obviously he made his announcement before that. Obviously nothing was said on it during the limited time I was watching. Then I turned on the radio and they were there talking about it with Will O'Callaghan and Dec Pearson CFM, and I couldn't quite believe it. It's definitely the end of an era. It's going to be kind of quite strange. It definitely will be missed. I think Jeff was a great character. I think it was fantastic on Saturday afternoons. look, it probably hasn't quite been the same the last kind of couple of seasons without the regular trio, Charlie Nicholas, not Paul Merson, sorry, Phil Thompson and Matt Letizia. But look, all good things come to an end.
Yeah, definitely won't be the same on a Saturday. I always look forward to it, and I think the Saturdays aren't really the same if you're not watching Jeff on Soccer Saturday. To be fair, so yeah, sad, but look, listen, it's still a whole season left. So look, we'll make the
Exactly.
most of it. And that last day, I'm sure everyone will be watching.
Yeah, I think even Soccer Saturday in general, the last 5, 6 years has probably lost kind of its appeal from what it once used to be like, because it was your only way of keeping up to date, maybe apart from teletext of how football games are going on Saturday at 3 o'clock. Now you've got social media. Now you can stream games live. You've got 3 o'clock
Mhm.
games live on a Saturday, even beyond the Premier League. I think even like the championship clubs now can stream their games and stuff like that. So it has kind of changed just a little bit. But as you say, like, look, there's still another 6 or 7 months left of Jeff Stedding. So and they've got a good replacement, I think, lined up in Julian Warren. I think anyone who watches the soccer specials will know he's quite a good character. He's a very, very comfortable host as well. Just maybe needs to work on his pronunciation of a couple of Irish players.
Yeah, Darrow Conkybear is
Yeah,
one that springs to mind. Uh, yeah, sad, but look, listen, as we keep going anyway, we keep going. Football keeps going. Uh,
exactly.
when we move on to Scotland, I can do
Yeah,
Scotland. Anyway. I've only got a few things anyway. Johnny Hayes was on for Aberdeen against Hearts. Most notably from that as well, and probably the last few weeks too. No game time for Aaron McAniff. I know they've been playing quite well. I think that's their first defeat this weekend, Hearts, but he hasn't been getting any game time at all, really, which is a bit
he was back on
disappointing.
the bench though, which was a slight encouragement. Like a lot of the time, I noticed he wasn't even making match day squads in recent weeks.
Yeah, definitely. It's tough for him though, especially like if a team has only lost one game so far, they're obviously a decent side. So like it's going to be tough to break into that. Like the St.
Probably
Mirren
just
lads,
a
what was that going?
combination. It's probably just a combination. Whether maybe just the Scottish Premiership has maybe just come a little bit too soon for him, like in the sense of that, like he only had half a season in the Scottish Championship, where maybe if he joined Hearts at the start of the season, or Hearts hadn't got promoted, that he could have got another bit of that kind of level. It's a big, big jump to go from
Yeah.
the League of Ireland half a season Scottish Premiership to go, as you say, to a team that's flying the Scottish Championship. So it could be a case it could just take him a while to kind of to bed in, or maybe it's just a case of it might just be a jump a little bit too far for Aaron.
Yeah, maybe anyway. Uh, St. Mirren lads, besides Jamie McGrath, obviously got a bad injury the other day. Joe Shaughnessy, Conor McCarthy, Alan Power, and Conor Ronan all played in. I think they lost 1-0 to Dundee. Killian Sheridan and Ryan Sweeney played in that game, and Killian Sheridan got a bad injury. Apparently, he was talking about it on Twitter, and he tried to make a bit of a joke about it. I think it was Achilles tendon, which
Yeah.
he'd be out for a while. But look, at least he's positive from the get go anyway. So hopefully he's back sooner rather than later.
Yeah, and speaking of positive there, that kind of brings us on nicely to Hibs, because their last 2 games have actually been called off due to positive COVID outbreaks within their squad. They were originally meant to play Ross County last Saturday, but that was called off. The game was then fixed again for last night. Once again, it got pulled for the second time, and now they've even took a decision to already call off Saturday's game against Livingston. So no action for Jake Doyle Hayes over the next kind of couple of weeks. Their next scheduled game, actually, I think, is now going to be against Rangers on the 21st of November, which should be a good source of motivation, because it was Rangers a defeat at Ibrox that has started their bit of their mini collapse over the last kind of couple of weeks. So no doubt that the green half of Edinburgh should be well up for that.
Yeah, definitely. Um, that's all I've got from Scotland. Do you have anything else to add from the lower
Uh,
leagues?
that's pretty much it. Yeah, I think you had there about the kid in Sheridan injury. Looks like he's going to be facing a long time on the sidelines. You mentioned all the Irish contingent involved with St. Mirren, and Johnny Hayes' introduction off the bench for uh, Aberdeen in their impressive 2-1 victory over Hearts. So we'll move on then to the rest of Europe. Just as usual, the 3 bits of information to bring you from here. First up, Green Carey returns to the CSK Sofia side, but they suffered their first league defeat of the season against Lokomotiv Plovdiv, losing 3-1 at home. They still remain in second place on 23 points. They are some 7 points behind leaders Ludogorets, though, but they have a game in hand on them, and they actually have 3 games in hand on most other sides in the league. As I touched on a couple of weeks ago, that was due to their commitments to the Conference League qualifiers at the start of the season. So they're still in a very, very healthy situation there in Bulgaria. Josh Cullen played another full game as Anderlecht's up and down season continued with a 2-2 draw with Leuven. They remain sixth in the table on 21 points. They're still, I think, 7 points off league leaders, Royal Union. And Sak El Bassetti played 68 minutes as AIK's title hopes are fastly fading away with a third defeat in 4 games against Helmstedt. They lost that game 1-0 away from home on Monday night. Sak started the game brightly, but overall it was a frustration even for him and AIK. That's just going again from the reliable Twitter sources of Philip O'Connor, who's fantastic for providing Twitter updates on the AIK games. They've now actually dropped down to 4th in the table. They're 4 points behind leaders Malmo, and they've got 4 games left, so they face a big task if they are to come out as number 1 come the first week in December.
Yeah, it's going to be tough. Yeah, I mean, it's probably gone now. I know it's only 4 points, but listen, you don't see Malmo losing that many games, and I think they'll probably run away with it now that they're officially out of the Champions League as well. And I don't think they're probably not going to finish ahead of Zenit to get into the Europa League either. So their focus will probably turn to the Swedish league anyway. I think you've got off from Europe there, so I can move on to the best league in the world, the MLS. Derek Williams played 2 games for LA Galaxy. Firstly, they were beaten 2-0 by Sporting Kansas City, and then he played in the 1-1 draw with Seattle Sounders on Monday night here, so whatever time it was there. And I think Seattle are already qualified for the end of season playoffs. So, yes, score. So, yeah, probably a good result, really, but Seattle probably have nothing really to play for. It's just keep themselves going up until those end of season enticing playoffs. Do you have anything to add from the MLS?
No, just that Shane O'Neill actually came on at halftime in that game for Seattle Sounders, and Jake Mulroney came on the last 14 minutes of Atalanta's tie. It's not a draw, it's tie. With Toronto as they drew 1-1 at home. And I've just had a brainwave there while we're going through the MLS roundup. We are going to do Irish Abroad watch-along shows for the MLS playoffs in the season. We are going to be up to all hours in the morning, drinking coffee, staying awake.
Won't be drinking coffee.
Well, we have to
whatever your choice is.
Well, let's try and stay awake. Like if you're drinking cans, you're only going to fall asleep. For our promotion and love of Paul Tierney's favorite league in the world.
Yeah, the playoffs. Woo. It sounds so much better in England when it's actually like a semi-final and a final. It's like
there's so many. Basically another league campaign.
Yeah, it is. It's mental. It's mental. But look, let them at it. One more bit of information I had to add two more from the EFL trophy was that Owen Doyle got a goal in a 3-0 win over Rochdale. It's the Papa John's trophy. Sorry, whatever sponsorship nowadays. God, and Evan Ferguson scored in Brighton's under-21 victory over Northampton Town as well. So that's a big goal for him. Probably counts as a senior goal anyway, so that's for sure.
Well, yeah, as you say, it was up against senior opposition, so yeah, it's good to see. To be honest, I do kind of tend to be quite slack and quite lazy in my EFL research. It's not that I don't disrespect the tournament or anything else like that. It's just I often tend to forget about it, and when you have under 23 sides in the competition as well and stuff like that, it's a lot to take in. But look, as you can see, we're on the go here, nearly 3/4 an hour, so we've already had so much to kind of get through. Another cracking show there, Paul. Obviously, of course, there could be even more stuff to add from tonight, obviously, because there's UEFA League and Europa League, and UEFA Conference League action tonight. So hopefully there'll be good involvement there between possibly the likes of Liam Scales and James McCarthy for Celtic's must-win game in Turkey against Ferencváros. Obviously, hopefully Matt Doherty, don't know what the injury update is on him, whether he'll feature or not in Antonio Conte's first game in charge against Features Yarman tonight. You've obviously got Graham Carey as well. CSK Sofia are in action tonight against that Ukrainian team, who I don't know how to pronounce, but I know they're in Manchester United's Europa League group a couple of years ago. And yeah, I think that's pretty much the Irish interest that could possibly be involved in Europa League time. Maybe Sean Flynn might make the bench for Leicester, but that's probably clutching at straws.
Probably, yeah. Is that team Zorya Luhansk or something?
That's probably the one, yeah.
Yeah. I don't know why that popped into my head. There's just some of them are Ukraine. I couldn't even spell Shakhtar Donetsk the other night, and you see them every season. Like I couldn't spell it. I was doing some quiz, and I was like, I'm spelling this right. Why are they not accepting this? And they wouldn't even just accept Shakhtar. I don't know. Anyway, great show, Jer. Good to talk
No,
to you again.
no worries, Paul. We'll be back again next week. Could be an interesting one next week because we've got the FA Cup first round as well. So we
Oh,
could be digging out lads,
I
Irish
tell
lads
you,
playing in the Northern Premier League or the Southern Premier League or Conference North, Conference South. So we'll be like archaeologists just digging away next week to get content out.
yeah. Look, I'm looking. It's the best time of the year when the FA Cup starts. I know Arsenal aren't in it yet, but this is when the season begins, or well, January is when the season begins. So good stuff. Looking forward to it.
I give it another few years and Arsenal will be in the FA Cup first round.
Yeah, probably. Probably.
Yourselves, Tottenham and Everton will all be in the first round in 6 years.
Sounds like an interesting FIFA career, to be fair.
Yeah.
Anyway, top stuff, Jer.